He looked up at the sky, at the white wind that obliterated the stars completely. He brushed the flakes of dried blood from his face and hair. Thousands of pages had been scattered about by the wind, pages of parchment, old crumbling paper. The swirling snow came down now, lightly, into the ruined parlor. There Marius took up the brass poker for a walking stick and stared out through the ruptured wall at the starving wolves howling in their pen. No food for them, since he, their master, had been buried. Ah, the sound of the wolves howling. I heard Santino speak to Marius, try to tell him that they must go. They were expected, that a woman waited for them in the redwood forest, a woman as old as the mother, and the meeting could not begin until they had come. A chord of alarm went through me. What was this meeting? Marius understood, but he didn't answer. He was listening to the wolves. To the wolves. The snow and the wolves. I dreamed of wolves. I felt myself drift away, back into my own mind, into my own dreams and memories. I saw a pack of fleet wolves racing over the newly fallen snow. I saw myself as a young man fighting them, a pack of wolves that had come in deep winter to prey upon my father's village 200 years ago, so close to death that I could smell it. But I had to cut down the wolves, one by one. Ah, such coarse youthful vigor, the pure luxury of thoughtless irresistible life. Or so it seemed. At the time it had been misery, hadn't it? The frozen valley, the horse and my dog slain. But now, all I could do was remember. And to see the snow covering the mountains, my father's land. I opened my eyes. She had let me go and forced me back a pace. For the first time I understood where we really were. Not in some abstract night, but in a real place, and a place that had once, for all purposes, been mine. Yes, she whispered. Look around you. I knew it by the air, by the smell of winter, as my vision cleared again. This is my father's house, I whispered. This is the castle in which I was born. Stillness. The snow shining white over the old floor. This had been the great hall, where we now stood. God, to see it in ruins, to know that it had been desolate for so long. Soft as earth, the old stones seemed. And here had been the table, the great long table, fashioned in the time of the Crusades, and there had been the gaping hearth, and there, the front door. The snow was not falling now. I looked up, and I saw the stars. The tower had its round shape still, soaring hundreds of feet above the broken roof, though all the rest was a fractured shell. My father's house. Lightly, she stepped away from me, across the shimmering whiteness of the floor, turning slowly in a circle, her head back, as she were dancing. To move, to touch solid things, to pass from the realm of dreams into the real world. Of all these joys she'd spoken earlier, it took my breath away. Just watching her. Her garments were timeless. A black silk cloak, a gown of silken folds that swirled gently about her narrow form. I wanted to hold her again, but she forbade it with a soft, sudden gesture. What had she said? Can you imagine it? When I realized that he could no longer keep me there, that I was standing before the throne and he had not stirred, that not the faintest response came from him. She turned, she smiled. The pale light of the sky struck the lovely angles of her face, the high cheekbones, the gentle slope of her chin. Alive, she looked, utterly alive. Then she vanished. "Akasha, come to me," she said. But where was she? Then I saw her, far, far away from me, at the very end of the hall, a tiny figure at the entrance to the tower. I could scarcely make out the features of her face now, yet I could see behind her the black rectangle of the open door. I started to walk towards her. "No," she said. "Time to use the strength I've given you. Merely come." I didn't move. My mind was clear. My vision was clear, and I knew what she'd meant. But I was afraid. I'd always been the sprinter, the leaper, the player of tricks, preternatural speed that baffles mortals. That was not new to me, but she had asked for a different accomplishment. I was to leave the spot where I stood and locate myself suddenly beside her. It required a surrender. To try such a thing. "Yes, surrender," she said. For a tense moment, I merely looked at her, her white hand gleaming on the edge of the broken door. Then I made the decision to be standing at her side. It was as if a hurricane touched me, full of noise and random force. Then I was there. I felt myself shudder all over. I looked down and into her eyes, and I smiled. Beautiful. She was so beautiful. The goddess with her long black plaited hair. Impulsively I took her into my arms and kissed her cold lips, and felt them yield to me just a little. Then the blasphemy of it struck. It was like the time I'd kissed her in the shrine. I wanted to say something in apology, but I was staring at her throat again, hungry for the blood. It tantalized me that I could drink it. She could have destroyed me in a second with no more than a wish to see me die. That's what she had done to the others. The danger thrilled me. Darkly, I closed my fingers round her arms. I kissed her again and again. I could taste blood in it. She drew back and placed her finger on my lips. Then she took my hand and led me through the tower door. Starlight fell through the broken roof hundreds of feet above us, through a gaping hole in the floor of the highest room. "Do you see?" she said. The room at the very top is still there. The stairs are gone. The room is unreachable, except for you and me, my prince.